Hell's bells, it's the Krusty Fox, back with yet another review and recap of Sex and the City revival series, and just like that. It's a very mixed bag this time around, ranging from the pathologically selfish to the genuinely upsetting, like most of my first dates. So grab the tissues for a variety of reasons, and let's get into it. Carrie's major beef this episode is with downstairs neighbour Duncan Reeves, who takes exception to her objectively ridiculous penchant for wearing heels at all times, in a house full of hardwood floors, with a congenital hip condition, in her 50s. I'm surprised she's not dragging herself from room to room like a dog with an itchy bumhole. The problem with Carrie's problem here is that, as usual, she's the problem. We're shown right at the outset that she's stomping about like an extra from Jurassic Park, and in what I have to assume is completely over-the-top couture.
Well, look who's ready for a night at home!
Her wildly passive-aggressive attitude doesn't help much either, extending olive branches to Duncan only so that she can take further snide potshots at him, and evidently finding herself endlessly entertaining in the process, despite the fact that most people outside of her social circle react to her like she might have escaped from a nearby psychiatric facility. Duncan is a writer of historical biographies, apparently of some renown. Perhaps his career was, like his dress sense, influenced by Indiana Jones. He appears in the apartment below Carrie for a 6-month stint just as she's taking her first tentative steps into historical fiction. Gee whiz, I wonder what's going to happen. We do, at least, get our first off-screen Samantha Jones appearance this season when she provides Carrie with some London-sourced intel on Duncan. Are they sowing the seeds for another on-screen cameo? I can't imagine HBO haven't at least asked. Please, Kim. Your people need you. Also, was that a fourth wall break when Carrie mentions The Devil Wears Prada? It sure looked like one. Has she remained aware of us ever since her early SATC pieces to camera? Can she see me now? Quick, how many fingers am I holding up?
1.
Anyway, after saving Duncan from a boiling pot, they declare a truce over dinner, conveniently setting up his inevitable intervention in her horrific novel. He also reveals that he's writing a biography of Margaret Thatcher. You might not be aware that I've written one too, from the perspective of one of the Northerners whose local economy she destroyed. And here it is. She was a f***ing Remember last time when I complained that Harry was being used as the show's punching bag? And the time before that, when I begged them to do something interesting with he and Charlotte? Well, he's got prostate cancer. F***'s sake. Turns out that's been the source of his recent downstairs dysfunctions, and similarly to those, he asks that Charlotte keep his diagnosis a secret from everyone else. Harry's very sure that he's going to be fine and that it's no big deal. But I'll be honest, narratively speaking, it's not looking great for him. What you might not know is that actor Evan Handler is himself a cancer survivor, after twice beating acute myeloid leukemia some 40 years ago. And given this show's usual approach to sensitive topics, I have to assume that he's the reason why there's some genuine, if limited, pathos injected into this storyline. In the run-up to a glamping trip with the Todd Wexleys, Charlotte's evidently not doing great. She channels her worry into a farcical attempt to forge new family memories. Though frankly, I'd sooner suffer a traumatic brain injury than retain any recollection of those kids. After failing to covertly Norman Rockwell her uninterested clan, Charlotte buggers off to the pool with Lisa. And it's this scene that makes me think that Harry might be on the chopping block. The writing of this show is about as subtle as a sledgehammer, and Charlotte's genuinely upsetting silence, along with the foreboding background music, makes me think they might actually go there. Harry's the last undestroyed husband from the Sex and the City days, so it would certainly be on trend. So, in summary, be careful what you wish for. When I said I wanted something interesting, I meant like Lily only getting into Florida Memorial University or Rock being revealed as the murderer of all of Park Avenue's cats. You know, fun stuff. This week in Who Gives a Shit news, Lisa has an entirely predictable work crush on new chief editor of her never-ending documentary series, Marion. Husband Herbert has a correspondingly foreseeable issue with it when he discovers a selfie of the pair on Lisa's phone. I'm with Lisa, though. I'd climb him like Lara Croft. There's strong evidence that college admissions tutor Lois Fingerhood might have had a point about the Todd Wexley family's out-of-touch excesses. When middle child Henry labels a croque monsieur divine during their glamping trip, you can practically see Herbert making a mental note to keep him the hell away from any of his campaign activities. Love's young dipshit Lily worries that she's getting a raw deal compared to polyamorous boyfriend Diego's boyfriend. Although, ironically, Diego's boyfriend probably spends much of his time hoping that he'll get a raw deal. If you know what I mean. Seema tries and fails to secure funding for her own real estate business. Though that's not entirely shocking, considering that her loan application appears to be based solely on the idea that men are shit. And if that was any basis for financial support, I'd be a millionaire by now. On a related note, I do just want to highlight Carrie's reaction here, complaining that she was once turned down for an apartment loan. Turns out that when Carrie's the one with the bursting bank account, she's a lot less into the idea of friends helping friends financially. What a tosser. And Aidan turns out to be the off-screen purchaser of that f***ing awful dining table that Carrie wanted. Which, if I'm reading this correctly, has somehow gone from the $6,750 list price to over $20,000 with postage and taxes. Is there anyone left who finds this stuff relatable? Do let me know. To misquote Mark Twain, there are no new ideas. And because of that, Miranda is also experiencing neighbour trouble this episode. Although, with that being said, hers is far more entertaining than anyone else's so far. She passes a series of notes under the door of her Airbnb neighbour, who's blasting music while she tries to work. It's when she delivers what turns out to be her final note that her storyline again gets a genuine laugh out of me, because it results in what appears to be Gandalf on meth bursting out of his front door stark bollock naked, brandishing a meat cleaver, and making death threats. Now that's the New York I like. Ms. Hobbs winds up moving in with Carrie, which must have ranked only slightly above being served as the appetizer at a serial killer brunch. Miranda spends precisely 42 seconds in the house before Ms. Bradshaw accuses her of being too loud and not knowing how to walk in heels. Best friends, everyone. In fairness, Carrie may be the bigger nightmare roommate, but Miranda gives it the old college try too, when she wanders the hallways in nothing but socks. Did we need to know that she still has a largely untamed bush? Don't answer that, because we did not. Fair play to Cynthia Nixon though, she's the only remaining cast member willing to flop her bits out once or twice a season. Miranda's further housemate crimes include eating yogurt and banana, drinking Mexican Coke, not treating a table as an ornament, leaving open containers where Carrie can blunder into them, and, less understandably, using designer clothing to mop up spills. Although, personally, I'd have burned that scarf. It's funny that Carrie is such an ass about all of this because it proves that living for over a decade with Big did nothing to curb the self-involved spiral she descends into the second she has to share living space. Imagine what she'll be like when Aidan brings the farmyard with him in 5 years, and the padded cell for Wyatt's visits. Ultimately, Seema agrees to help Miranda find a 2-bedroom place of her own. Presumably, the second bedroom is for Brady to occasionally stay, and the rest of the time will be where she stands with her baps out in front of open windows at 2 AM. This video's question is, what's the worst housemate behaviour you've ever experienced? Or were you the nightmare housemate, accidentally or otherwise? And if you impress me with your horror stories, in addition to sharing your best next time, I'll also share mine. And it's a doozy. Either way, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as ever, if you can't be good, be crusty.